Peter and Rob back with Buckeyes Battle Cry, another live here, another Thursday night. We welcome you on in. We got some hot topics tonight. But first, before we jump in and dive in, how's the week been for you, brother? I love that it's getting warmer out and it's lighter out later now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been pretty stressful. You know,
Sure.
the I mean, it should be not stressful as the school year's ending, but it's stressful because we had our observations, we got to get our data in, we got to get our stuff in for evaluations. I finished up my teacher portfolio, turn that in, and then you have these kids these students who can feel that, oh, the weather's getting a lot warm.
Mm,
Oh, the last time the weather was really warm after winter was when we were getting out of school. So they can feel that summer
yeah.
angst and being out of school for about 3 months. So
Yeah. The anticipation is coming, and I'm sure that rises stress level for teachers and educators like yourself, man. That's pretty wild. Yeah, dude. I'm loving that. Personally, summer is close. It's lighter out later, and you do more stuff. With the day. So that's really good to see, man. Really nice to see. But yeah, in terms for me, my sales job, it's like, ooh, yeah, Monday through Thursday are not good sales days. Just typically they're just not. So anyway, it's been an interesting week sales wise, kind of down, but the weekend is always where the money and the bread is made. So
yeah.
look, pushing forward to that. But tonight, man, we have some wild topics that we're going to be going over. As Ohio State fan base, we are very entitled, and even though we have had things taken from us the last 3 years, I still sense that there is the sense of entitlement within the fan base.
Yeah.
Like with everything that we have coming back, everybody is coming back. It seems like for Ohio State, with the exception of Mike Hall, Tommy Two Thumbs, and Steel Chambers, which we won't comment because we're kind of happy he's gone. But um, the roster is stacked, and everybody is blowing sunshine and roses up, up our butts.
Yeah.
They just are. They're hyping us up, and it's easy to buy into that hype because of all the returning talent. But you get guys like Joel Klatt coming on, and he's the one that's been praising Michigan for the past 3 years, or 2 years, I should say. And now he's forgotten about them because the story is Harbaugh's gone. All the talent is gone off the national championship team. Ohio State's a fresh team, and he's hyping us up. And I think us Buckeye fans have bought in. Give me just initial thoughts on the sunshine blowing that's going on right now.
Well, I think in some spots there's a lot of sunshine, and then
Sure.
some spots there's cloud, thunderstorms, and rain. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the quarterback position. I'm
Yep.
talking about the O line, and I know On Three ranked Ohio State as the top edge D line
Yeah.
uh, in the nation, but
Nope.
that has some clouds over it too.
It
Two
does.
5 stars who have been extremely underwhelming.
Yes.
And I was expecting a lot out of JTT after that Penn State game, but he
Sure.
just never seemed to rise to the occasion after that game. And then you also have Jack Sawyer. I mean,
Right.
they're just not producing at all. Wasted his sophomore year at the
Yeah.
Jack
Yeah.
position. I don't know what Jim Knowles was thinking,
Right.
but this season, we'll we'll see what happens. I mean, both their knuckles are going to be in the dirt. They're going
Yeah.
to be coming off the edge. I mean, that's what they're meant to play. But I really, really hope that they're getting back to teaching them technique.
Right.
And the thing that I'm worried about is maybe in Jim Knowles' system they don't work they don't emphasize on the edge players. But don't want to go down a rabbit hole. We can discuss that a
Sure.
bit when we talk about the article. But the quarterback position, who is it? Will Howard?
Yeah.
Maybe Will Howard's not what he was put up to be.
Right.
Maybe there is such a panic set in by Ohio State fans and the
Nope.
coaching staff after losing to Michigan for the third year in a row. It's so easy to point your finger at one person but not take a look in the
Mhm.
mirror. So they
Yeah.
went out and got what they thought was the next best thing. and Will Howard may not even start. And then you got the atrocious O line. I mean,
Right.
you go back to that. You go back to that bowl game against Missouri. They were MIA, missing action, nowhere to be seen. AWOL. I didn't even recognize the O line. It is a mere shadow
Right.
compared to the Urban Meyer days. So I don't want to
He,
hear
yeah.
about all the sunshine over this complete roster. I would say the completeness is the secondary, the wide receivers, the running back,
Yeah.
the linebackers, some of the D line. I mean Ty Hamilton, but I think it's just being a bit overhyped.
It
A
is a bit
bit
overhyped.
overhyped.
There's reason
And
to be optimistic right now. 100% is because of all the returning talent. We had 11
yeah,
players that came back that were draft eligible that because they've won nothing in the career, 0 for 9 on their season goals, decided to come back. And going back to your point about Urban Meyer emphasizing the O line, it's because he understands Big Ten football. I'm starting to get a sense that Ryan Day doesn't quite understand how to win the Michigan game. And not just because he's 1-3. The Michigan game has and always will be won in the trenches. It's not won by skill players. Yes, you get great talents coming up and making great plays for you to salvage some things. Yes, that happens. But the team that has won the Ohio State Michigan game the last 22 years has led the rushing battle. 22 consecutive seasons.
yeah.
Urban Meyer knew that to win those battles, you have to win the trenches. And Day's classes get propped up because of the skill position players, the cornerbacks, the wide receivers, and most of the time the quarterbacks
That
that get to the class.
that has John. I'm sorry, but that has John Cooper written all over it, man. I'm telling you, like,
He was very similar, right?
yeah, Ryan Day could be a very consequential coach. There's some good that comes with them,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh
there
yeah.
is some question marks. But his firing could possibly implode this program because who is out there that's better?
Precisely. And when you run such a risk when you overhaul a coach, especially a coach that is winning at the percentage clip that Ryan Day is, and you cut him off after going perhaps 11-1 again this season, if that were to happen, losing to Michigan or whoever. um, no coach in their right mind will want to step into that position knowing that perfection is the only option at Ohio State. um, you know, because it's just our fan base demands perfection, and that's what one thing I love about it, because it demands excellence. The program tradition and excellence. That's what Ohio State's built on and stood on since Woody Hayes, you know, said those words back in his coaching tenure. And so, yes, there is a standard of excellence that is expected at Ohio State. But when it can be so clouded by the Michigan game, and it's so important. But it's starting to lose a little bit of its importance, as we know, with the 12-team playoff and with the divisionless football now. They might meet 2 to 3 times now. But going back into we both read this article by Ramsey Nasrallah on 11 Warriors, and he emphasized a lot of these points. So a lot of Ohio State faithful are really buying into it. But because we are here's my theory. He didn't comment on this in the article, but I think because we have fallen so short the last 3 seasons, anybody that's willing to talk good about the program is going to be embraced right now. Because I think there's a little bit of insecurity in Buckeye Nation right now because we sense that things are slipping. I don't know if that's just my own theory. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's the sense that I get.
Oh yeah, definitely. Things if this season it seems so
Yeah.
hyped up, put on this pedestal that
Yes.
if anything falls short of expectation, and
Right.
we're talking about the national championship, Ryan Day will be fired and the program will implode. It will. Because you know what?
Yeah,
The boosters
yeah,
won't be willing to fork out all this money. Recruits could. I mean, Ryan Day quits. Who knows who other staff is going to leave? Who are they going to replace that staff with? I mean, they're recruiting at an all-time high level right now.
yeah,
The
yeah.
secondary, linebackers, uh, wide receivers,
Oh,
quarterback. I mean, who's to say that everyone else stays? So again, Ryan Day is a consequential coach. Good things happen, and some really bad things gonna happen.
there there is no perfect coach, and you bring up a great point, man. I really like how you said that because there is so much pressure brewing on this season for Ryan Day, and he knows it. That's why he's calling all the donors. That's why he's calling all these people and saying we need to get the transfers that we got, and they got them, knowing what is expected of him coming into this season. And all this pressure is being built up by the media as well. I hope it's not getting to Ohio State's locker room. I'm sure it's going to other locker rooms for motivation. Um, because when you look in the mirror, as you said, as you mentioned earlier, Ohio State is 0-9 in their season goals the last 3 years, 0-3 each season, and this is a hungry team, um, but they've earned nothing on the field. Tremendous wins, got a great Rose Bowl win, beating Notre Dame twice, a program that's been middling, ever since Brian Kelly left. Um, but nothing really to hang our hat on and say, we did this. We did this. These guys are going to have the hunger to go out and win these games, I think. But with the talent in the running back room that we have, the 1-2 punch of Judkins and Henderson, do we even have the O line to block for him, bro?
I don't even know. I mean, the last time I checked, Justin Fry couldn't even name one starter, not
Yeah,
one.
sure.
And how many days were we into were they into practice? I mean, we're going into before you know we're gonna be in August. Like you should have some starters named on the offensive line. Like that has been a question mark like the last 3 years or so, and that's the problem because like you said, Big Ten football is won in the trenches, and I don't care how talented your quarterback is. I don't care how talented wide receivers are. I don't care how talented your running back is. If your O line can't block, if your O line can't open up those holes, it's not it's going to be pointless. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't you just can't win games in the Big Ten if you don't dominate the trenches. Now we can over talent most of the teams, but when it comes to equal or superior talent, there's very few and far in between, of course, in the Big Ten. But Ohio State has fallen short. 1-5 in those premier matchups the last 3 years under Ryan Day. And I think
Yep.
Urban not only understood the rivalry and tried to pass that down to Ryan Day, but their philosophies are so different. They're on opposite extremes. Ryan Day is a pass first guy. That's just who he is. He was a quarterback. He was a quarterback in college in New Hampshire. And I just don't think he understands that running the football is the way to success in the Big Ten Conference.
I mean,
Um,
here's the thing with that.
mhm,
All right, going to your point.
yeah,
Let's go back to the Georgia game a couple years ago in the semifinal game. C.J. Stroud had run the ball for about 35, 40 yards.
he did.
And they just need to get a little closer. Maybe the field goal wouldn't be as far. But Ryan Day, he closes off in his shell. He shrinks away. He shies away from, the gut punch moment, the step on your jugular, don't let up moment. That's what cost him. I mean, I don't, I mean, Ryan Day is at fault too. It's just not the own
Sure.
line. I mean, that's what they even addressed in the article.
Yeah.
Here's what I've seen with Ryan Day over the years.
Okay.
He does not have that killer instinct like Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer wanted to stick it to opponents. He wanted you to fear them.
To
He wanted
bury
you to
them.
know we're here. We're here to stay. We're gonna punch you in the mouth. We're gonna come out and punch you in the mouth, and we're gonna be swinging the end of the fourth quarter. And if we
Yeah.
needed to go for it to close the game, we're gonna do that. Ryan Day has not developed that killer instinct
Mhm.
yet.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
he people want to say, "Oh, Kyle McCord cost them the Michigan game," but it was actually Ryan Day as well. You just aired it out to Marvin Harrison Jr. Got close. There's about 40 seconds left. What does he do? He lets the clock run out just to miss a field goal.
Sure.
Throw more. First year, he's only coached 3 games. He left the game in his players' hands. He said,
Mhm.
"You're not going to beat us. We're going to beat ourselves." And that's what Ryan Day has not learned to do.
Right. Well, his fallback on those moments in the Georgia game and in this past Michigan contest is to kind of pass. It's not to run and play smash mouth football. One, because that's he's a quarterback. That was his go-to. He trusts his elite quarterbacks. But two, it proven in other moments in the season where the O line didn't deliver. Um, and I don't think he trusts his players, as you mentioned. I don't, I don't think he does. I think he thinks he's smarter. And also, another thing I want to add is he talks a huge game. And I like Ryan Day. Don't get it twisted. I fully support Ryan Day, but he talks such a loud game and then cowers in those big moments that we've seen in in the
Like
Georgia game and in the Michigan game, and that's hard to see. It's hard to
he,
watch.
I mean, he called out Lou Holtz. This is a tough team, and it's just like,
Sure.
well, you shied away from being tough in the biggest moments.
Right. It's in that game, and he still talked a game.
What's
What's
up,
up, Pickle?
Pickleville boys?
It's a wild thing. To that Lou Holtz point, we saw that I think people get under his skin. I think he's young enough where that he
Hey, wait,
that
wait, wait. I want to address Jimmy John. Hey, you know what? You said as a Michigan fan, I love Ryan Day. Well, here we go. As Ohio State fans, when Jim Harbaugh started out, didn't get the right staff in, took years to get it together. We love Jim Harbaugh. Remember the sign Jim
are
Harbaugh forever? Then it just the complete opposite. So be careful what you say because you know what?
Mhm.
Ryan Day he's a first time head coach at a big time program, but it seems like he's getting things together one thing at a time.
Yeah. Anthony Bell chimes in. He says, "Has Ryan Day won enough that he does not win the national championship this year, will not get fired? And if he does get fired, who will replace him?" Well, man, we mentioned a little bit about that earlier. Um, Nobody in their right mind is going to step into a role where a guy goes 11-1 and gets fired.
Oh
Nobody
yeah,
that's an elite coach.
definitely not, because they're gonna
They're
be like,
saying that's a toxic program at this point.
oh yeah, definitely. That would make a valid point for Michigan's fans of toxic culture, because that is a toxic
Yeah.
culture. You're telling me like, I mean, I wouldn't want Ryan Day to get fired, but you're telling me that a coach would be attracted to a job where you lose
Right.
one game. You know how many programs would love to lose one game a year, be in contention for a national championship, Big Ten title, playoff appearance, and be ranked in the top 5 every year.
Seriously though, if that's not enough, like I get the comparisons to the '90s, but dude, Kirby Smart's record is like 1-5 versus Alabama. Um, you know, but he's won the national titles. Ryan Day hasn't done those things yet. But also to that point, it took Kirby many years to get going too as a young head coach, and to get he did it in years where he didn't have to face Alabama. Except one year he beat him in the SEC title game. Um, and so he's gotten fortunate with scheduling, but he's also gotten, um, he's got some demons to overcome as well as Ryan Day does. So, I was thinking the same thing because I got Dreamcast out. I was there for last, right? Seriously, and a lot of people like to think that John Cooper got fired because he didn't beat Michigan. He was 2-10-1 versus
But
Michigan,
he
but
got
that's not true.
I read this article. He got fired because he made the right moves too late. It was a little
Yeah.
too late. He woke up a little bit at the end, but I think losing in that last game against South Carolina,
Oh yeah.
that was just it. After a terrible season,
Yep. Yep. Oh, that's right. Good point, Pickle. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, no, on that John Cooper point, I mean, he was 2-10-1 against Michigan in the mid 90s, saved his job 94 through 98, and then he fell off completely, had 2 6-loss seasons to end his tenure. That's what got him fired. And your point, the South Carolina game, it wasn't losing to Michigan. And so a lot of people want to believe that in the Buckeye fan base, and it's parroted on 11 Warriors. I see it often. Um, but it's just not the reality. And here's another caveat I want to throw in there. This wasn't mentioned in the article. With a new AD coming in, there's two thoughts here that I want to follow. One, usually new athletic directors want to make their stamp on the biggest program in their athletic department and have their guy. So that's something to consider. The other thing to consider is that it would be a highly controversial decision to come in after 1 year and potentially an 11-1 season and make that firing. Like that's a lot of your biggest revenue income sport. That's a big weighty meaty decision. And I just don't know if he'll have the gonads to do that. And I don't know if he should do that. So those are two things to consider in the parable or in the paradox as well. Should will a new AD do that? I don't know. So it's interesting, man. I think going back to your point earlier, Rob, you said, you said, there's so much pressure riding on this season, and yet there's so much sunshine. And so I think there's a distinction. It's more if you're an optimist or a pessimist.
there's too much sunshine right now. Hey, you
Yeah,
know what? Let's break down that article because
yeah.
we made some talking points, but we didn't really break down that article.
Go for it more.
The first point is the offensive line has been the same
Not the same.
in a couple years. We haven't gotten those. We've missed out on so many 5 stars that I lost count. We can't
It's
even get a
insane.
top 100 offensive line anymore. We're getting
Yeah,
if you look at the reason why no one's really seen that because like, oh my gosh, 5 star wide receiver, 5 star wide receiver, 5 star wide receiver, 5 star wide receiver, over and over again. You miss those pieces that are the bread and butter to an offense,
right.
and then that's probably why everyone's so surprised because all this flash is covering it up. But the offensive line has been atrocious.
Atrocious,
It
bro.
really has. I mean, it
Yep.
just seems like second year going, it seems like Justin Fry has left off where he started back in like last season, where the O line didn't even know, hey, we got to run down field and block. Like, what? And then
Get to the
it's just
second
like,
level.
then you have that horrendous bowl game against Missouri, and now we're
Hmm.
hearing that you can't even name one starter.
Right.
That's the first part that could cost them the season.
Hmm.
The next part is possibly the quarterback.
Right.
I'm sorry,
Right.
but from what I saw in the spring game, Will Howard, he had at best for that backfield that they have this year, he could be a game manager.
Yeah.
But when called upon, he may do his thing, he may not. But it seems to me that we just have a bunch of game managers in that quarterback room. The young bloods, it looks promising for the future, but as of right now, it looks like they have a bunch of game managers in that quarterback room.
For the guys that are competing for the top level, you're totally right. Will Howard underthrew many times in the end zone on his drives. One counterpoint, just by advocate here to that, it was a no touch. It was touch tackle spring game, no tackling, and his ability to extend the plays with running. That's not really something you do in the spring game in Ohio State spring game because you can't. There's no point in running. You want to get those route concepts down with your receivers, and there's no point to run in the spring game. But anyway, continue. Go on. Continue with your points.
And then like let's talk about, and the other point was, this whole hyping, this whole sunshine and no clouds, it's really putting a target on Ohio State's back. And this is the one thing that let me know for sure that it's overhyped. That on three ranking of the edge D line position, I'm
Right.
sorry, but until otherwise, and Ohio State fans may not agree with me on this, but
Uh,
Michigan's number one. You got
yeah.
Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. I mean, have you seen those players? They are at
Seriously.
freak of natures. They are like the ultimate run stuffers, quarter going to get the quarterback. Kenneth Grant, I think he was able to chase down Katron Allen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was at the game too. That was impressive.
One
And
of the
then you have
most remarkable plays I've ever seen from a
Mason
big man.
Manchild Graham. I mean, he's a monster. He's a one man unit.
He's a first round draft pick, certified.
The edge position at Michigan, it looks pretty good too. So, but here's the thing, and this is why it should be number one, and Ohio State should not be number one. Ohio State has been extremely underwhelming. They have a lot of quarterback rushes, but they have not produced sacks.
Yeah.
Your
A lot of
cornerbacks
pressures.
your cornerbacks can only cover for so long. And it's impressive that they have been, because you know they need, if this season they can convert those rushes to sacks, then that will change my mind. Until then, it has been an extremely underwhelming defensive line, and they do not deserve that number one ranking. Maybe top 10, but
They're
they're not.
ranked that high because of recruiting rankings and past expectations, not because of production on the field, bro. And that's ridiculous to look at it that way. We have 3 seasons of evidence for JT and Jack Sawyer, and people are still looking at the recruiting rankings. I look at the production of Mason Graham. He is a monster back there, bro. He is unblockable.
I remember seeing him in the spring game as a freshman. I'm like, this dude's gonna be a problem in like a year.
Yeah.
Give him a year, he's gonna be a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to get sidetracked, but to Anthony Bell's point about Julian Sand,
He's not ready.
I would not do that right now. I would not throw a freshman to the wolves. We've heard good reports out of out of spring practices about Julian Sand, but what we saw on the actual field was discouraging and disheartening. A.
Hey,
Noland,
2023 net NCAA champs. We're actually giving your program a little praise right now, so this is definitely not the loser channel. But go on, Peter.
yeah, for sure, bro. You need to late tune in on this one, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, Ohio State's defensive ends, like you said, JTT had the one game and has not produced since. Sawyer, now to his credit, he's coming off a 3 sack game. But what other game has he taken over like that ever? I
To
didn't see
him,
it happen.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think
Yeah,
his coaches have set him up to succeed. They're not. They put him in the
correct.
jack position. Like he's a
Right.
knuckles in the dirt type of edge. Like it's
He's your
just,
traditional defensive end.
definitely. That is what he got recruited as. But no, they want to stay loyal to Zach Harrison, which I don't.
Sure.
To me, Zach Harrison was not loyal to the program. I mean, look at what he's doing in the pros. Like
Good.
ridiculous. Like he's putting up good stats. He didn't put up like eyeballing stats at Ohio State.
Right. To defend him slightly, he got a lot better senior year, and a lot of Buckeye fans overlooked it. He still wasn't elite by any means. He didn't live up to the 5 star hyping that he came in with. Number top 10 player in the country. But in my estimation, he got a lot better. I think he had 7 sacks his senior year, or something like that, or 6.5. That sounds more accurate. Um, but yeah, he's blowing it up in Atlanta. It's kind of like Rashawn Gary, don't you think? Um, you know, wow, you must be a 10-year-old child then.
Yeah,
So your opinion doesn't matter.
oh my god.
Um, But yeah, man, I think those rankings are based on statistics coming out of high school and the projection. And the silly thing is that at certain positions like defensive end, people get drafted based on potential, not necessarily production, which always baffles my mind. But Rashawn Gary is another example of that because he was so he was the number one player in high school coming out, coming into college in Michigan. He was very underwhelming at Michigan
Oh yeah,
under
yeah.
different coaches,
I
and
forgot
he's
they
tearing
recruited
it
him.
up at Green Bay.
I forgot they recruited him. To be honest.
Yeah, right. That's kind of an older story now, but um, getting back onto the point, about this upcoming season and hype versus
Can I say
substance.
one more? Can I say one more thing about the edge position?
We'll go for it. My bad.
The year that Jack Sawyer played
It
the
was
edge position, he had the most sacks in the team at like 4 or 5.
okay.
Most sacks on the team. That is
Yeah,
extremely underwhelming. It
it
really is.
is. Yeah, without question. Um, yeah, Anthony, that's something we definitely talked about on this channel as well. Is that the Michigan coaching staff just was better, but that coaching staff is gone now, and so it's really one of those things where it's like, can they sustain this? I don't know, man. I have my doubts with Sharon Moore. I certainly do. Um, one last thing I wanted to say about the hype versus substance is that those positions that are required to win in the Big Ten have been neglected in the portal and in recruiting, and I could see similar results happen in this season. Um, we have the benefit of hosting Michigan in Columbus in the Horseshoe, a place they've only won twice in 24 years, but that doesn't really matter because they have the mental edge right now, and
Yeah.
they have the um, experience in winning the game, hands down. You know, despite not how many players left. So I think they have a shortcoming a season coming that is going to underwhelm. Coming off a national championship season, but I think that Michigan has the mental edge entering the contest, despite all our returning players. So those are kind of my thoughts on that. We've covered this one for a while, kind of beating this one to death, but
Yeah.
I'm going to cover it in more precise and extreme detail tomorrow on a video. But Urban Meyer is a coach and a figure that made some interesting comments on Lou Holt's podcast recently. He said that the way NIL is being carried out is cheating. Now, Urban Meyer is not the one to be speaking on the moral high ground.
Oh no,
Um,
if y'all haven't watched that Untold, uh, the Swamp, go
oh,
watch
Swamp
it.
King, yeah,
Swamp
so
Camp,
good.
go watch it. It will tell you everything about the type of program that Urban Meyer ran. Hey, I'm disappointed that it didn't go into his days at Ohio State too, because
Yeah,
you
seriously though,
want more. But yeah, he literally has no room.
no ground to stand on.
Love Urban Meyer as a coach.
Yeah,
One of the best coaches in all of college football. One same as Urban Meyer. Not as many national championships, but he led 2 programs to a national championship. And
right.
everywhere he went, he was a winner. But
Yes.
the thing that really just rubbed me the wrong way when he was caught at that bar, that girl
Oh, I
was
know.
grinding on him,
Carmen,
and
Nebraska, or whatever she was. Yeah,
he seemed to, like, you know forgot that he was married, or just the dude doesn't have morals.
it
Well,
wasn't
he
the first time
he claims
either.
he claims to have morals, and the whole covering up domestic violence, that's a that was an issue as well.
One of the
So
things he literally had written on the locker room or somewhere in the Woody Hayes facility is it is never okay to hit women, and yet he was defending this whole Zach Smith saga, and so it's really interesting that he comes in and has a stance on this. He's one of the old head guys, old school mentality. He grew up idolizing Woody Hayes, And I said in my video yesterday, respect for what he did for the program, at Ohio State. He elevated recruiting, and that's all well and good. Those are
Yeah.
great things, and we got to cheer a lot of great important victories. But I don't think he was one that could mold men and cared about molding men. Um, I don't think he was one that um, how do I say this? He would put the program and winning over molding men, and to me, that's not Jim Tressel. That's not what I grew up with.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
definitely. And he thought he could take that junk into the pros, and it backfired on him. He had a,
sure,
I mean, look, a Jaguars team who won like 1 or 2 games,
yeah,
and then the next year they make the playoffs and they almost upset the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you can't you can't tell me that he's a person of good faith. He's
thanks,
a
man.
person of good faith when
Right,
it benefits the program,
yeah,
but
exactly.
would he put that good faith over winning? No, he
No,
wouldn't.
no,
But
it's
here's
true,
here's the other
and
thing about NIL.
yeah,
I don't think people can complain about NIL. Here's why. Everybody was saying, "Oh, it's so unfair that college football players don't get paid. It's
mhm,
so unfair that the NCAA makes billions of dollars off these athletes and they get nothing in return." And then here we are with NIL and people are complaining. And here's why people are complaining. It's not because the players are getting overpaid. It's because programs who have no business getting these players are getting these players.
sure,
That's why teams who used to benefit from just recruiting, just from running a good program, production, getting your teams, getting your players to the pros.
yeah,
I mean, it's no longer a valid system anymore
it's not valid.
for some
And
player, and that's the whole. That's why people are raising stink about it.
name those
It's not. It's
programs.
it's not about the money, but I guarantee you, if their program was benefiting from NIL and they actually knew how to work it, they wouldn't be
Sure,
saying a thing.
right,
But I,
and
I will I will say asking for $50,000 to go to a charity event, that's ridiculous.
that's insane,
That
man.
is ridiculous though.
for for asking to come onto a just a visit is insane. And I think Urban Meyer is saying these things because he can get away with them not being a head coach program. There is no way he would be saying that if he was head coach at Ohio State. That's my
No.
opinion. He would not say that because he knows he's cutting his legs off if he says that
Oh yeah,
as the head
definitely.
man.
Definitely. I mean, and again, like fans are frustrated with their programs because they haven't found out how to work NIL. Ohio State has, obviously the Miami Hurricanes. USC has, Texas. Who else has? I mean, Oregon. Oregon obviously has. I mean, they have the. I mean, they're sponsored by Nike. I think the
And then
person who runs Nike went to
Phil
went to
Knight.
Oregon.
Yeah,
So
Phil Knight. Yep.
yeah, definitely. But again, like I don't know. If you're gonna be careful what you ask for, but as of right now, I wouldn't call it cheating. I
I
would
wouldn't.
say that you open the doors for this, and
Yeah.
now we're gonna reap our rewards. That's
You
all
asked
that
for it.
is. That's all that
Great point,
is.
man. That is a great point. Everybody was clamoring for this, and I get why they were because coaches' salaries were ballooning. Um, when Jim Chesler got hired, his starting salary was around $2 million. By the time Urban Meyer got hired, he was like at $9 million. That was just a decade later. And so, I get where they're coming from. They're clamoring for this, but they opened Pandora's box, and I wouldn't call it cheating at this point either. It is playing the system. Now, to me, I don't think it's right to pay a recruit to visit. I think that's pretty ludicrous and entitled, if you ask me. I think it's going to become more par for the course, though, as we continue, especially with these top end talent guys, because Let's be honest. Arch Manning did it, and other players have done it, and they're going to see that and say, "Okay, well, I'm not coming to your school. I got they can make things up. I got Bama paying me this. I got Texas paying me this. To just to visit, and there there's a lot of corruption right now. It needs curtailing. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think you're
I mean,
right that
like,
it's not right to call it cheating right now.
here's the one thing that I don't agree on:
What's that?
tampering in the middle of season. If you're calling, if a
Ooh,
player, they're committed to their program, they're on their NIL contract.
right.
You can, I think tampering with NIL should be illegal. I think that is cheating. But
Yes.
NIL within itself, without the tampering thing, like if you want to go pay millions of dollars for a player once the season is over and the transfer portal is open, then
Yeah.
sure. But once that transfer portal closes,
Right.
and if you call someone up, because Drake May, may told the media that some Power Five programs were offering him $5 million to come play for them
Sure.
during the season. That is cheating. That is tampering.
It is
But
tampering.
if the transfer portal is open, if recruiting window is open, it's open season,
It's all fair
and
game.
I don't want to hear one complaint. Oh, but like, oh my gosh, we lost out. Well, figure out how to work NIL then. Your coach needs to figure out how to get a hold, like how
Yeah.
to sell his idea to boosters on how they can build a championship team and adapt to the modern era of college football. But here's
I
the thing:
yeah.
if I was losing out on players to Kentucky, or like I'd be mad too.
I
I
yeah, for
would.
sure. I
Like,
think Ohio State's hire of their athletic director Ross Bjork. He came from Texas A&M, a program that was clearly bending the rules under Jimbo Fisher before his time that he got there, in my opinion. And I think it's interesting that the Ohio State brought him in, knowing that he built a robust NIL program at Texas A&M, and now he brought that to Ohio State. That's why I think Ohio State is going to be as successful as they are. Gene Smith adapted well, and now bringing in Bjork, who knew how to do this at A&M. They're one of the programs that I think are kind of skirting the rules, however. But it's interesting because Ohio State has clearly made a statement that we are going to play this NIL game. We're going to do it strongly. We're going to play it effectively. We're going to play it within the boundaries, and we're going to do it to the best of our ability to help our football program win.
yeah.
So it's really interesting to hire. But
I would like to. If anything, I would like to take a poll
we can
on
do one on the
people
channel.
who oppose, and like fan bases who oppose NIL. Then let's look into those teams' NIL dealings. Let's look into the teams' strategies. Who who how much are the boosters giving out? What is the coach doing to take advantage of NIL? And then the if we see that they're not maximizing NIL, then we'll know why they're complaining.
Yeah,
Because do we hear Ohio State fans complain about NIL? Do we hear Miami fans? Do we hear Florida fans? Do we
sure.
hear Alabama, USC, Texas? No, because
Right.
they figured it out. They know how
They've
to do it
utilized it.
right.
They've utilized it well, and you see, Michigan lost a recruit to Kentucky, a poverty football program, a basketball school, and up in arms. That's not the first time it's been to Kentucky either. They lost multiple recruits to Kentucky over the years, so it's really interesting. But let's stop the tampering room. I feel like they should stop the tempering room because it's just a negotiation for players to get more money.
But
Yeah,
do you mean tampering?
yeah, he does.
Okay. But yeah, tampering. Tampering is illegal. Again, once that transfer portal window closes, once recruiting closes, you should not be able to contact a player to opt out.
Right.
Like
Once they're at a school.
you shouldn't. Once they're out of school,
I
like,
remember when Urban Meyer came in, he wrinkled the feathers a little bit. We'll just go back to him for a second. There was in the Big Ten there was a gentleman's agreement. Do you remember this? About once a player was committed. just committed, not at the school, but committed, Ohio State would still go after that player. And there was an agreement, a gentleman's agreement between the coaches not to go after a player once they're committed to a certain program. Urban Meyer was like, bro, that's not how it's done in the SEC. That's not how it's done. You're not committed. You're not at the school enrolled taking classes. You're still uncommitted in his mind. And that's really rung true. I don't like the man all that much, but
But
I
you
thought that
can't
was
be calling
hilarious.
players up during the season, though.
Right. You
I mean,
can't
could
do it.
could, could you imagine like you're this highly touted quarterback? You know, let's say for instance Drake May. Could you imagine like it's halftime? You get a call from someone, hey, like I'll give
Seriously.
you $5 million. You come play for us. Leave that locker room right now, and we'll give you. We'll have $5 million waiting for you on a private
Yeah.
jet with champagne, headed off to Tuscaloosa or Miami, Florida.
Sure. Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, it's that would be outrageous, bro. And it's happening. It's very obvious that it's
Oh yeah,
happening.
definitely. I
So
bet you. I already could tell you. I guarantee you that USC tampers.
sure.
Guarantee that Miami they definitely tamper.
1,000%.
Florida definitely tampers. I don't know about Alabama. I mean, I would say no because Nick Saban is already feared. He's NIL is the reason he retired in the first place. So no,
And
they're
he's
not included. They're not included in that. But
he's
I guarantee you. I have a feeling that maybe did I say USC?
mhm.
I guarantee Georgia's like 50-50.
Yeah. I think they're pretty sold in, but I'm not
You
sure yet.
you you send Dylan Rayola
Right.
to Buford High School in Georgia,
Right.
where Edric Houston and KJ Bolden
Right.
are playing. I mean, come on, you send him in there for that. I mean, I don't know. I
And
could be
then he
wrong.
never ended up even going to Georgia. He's in Nebraska now. That
Yeah,
that plan backfired big
that
time on them.
yeah, that's funny.
That is kind of funny.
Did you not trying to get off on getting off our
Yeah.
topic, but did you see on National Signing Day that did you see Dylan Rayola's face when KJ Bolden flipped his commitment from Florida State back
No, I didn't see it.
to Georgia? He was like, "Oh, you're going here now," like because he probably knew that Dylan Rayola was toxic. He didn't want to be part of it.
I think you're totally right, and there's a reason he went from this program to this program to this program in his recruitment process. I think he might have a little Spencer Rattler in him, if you're asking me. Little toxicity for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's an interesting one. But moving on to some smaller topics we got before we close out here within an hour's time or so. Cormani McClain, the spurned cornerback who trashed Dion's program. Rightly so. I think he went about it in a harmful way. That's why I wasn't offered a scholarship. But he rightfully trashed the Colorado program for what it
Oh,
is. He called it exactly.
definitely.
He called a spade a spade. Now, if anybody's been following this, he left and made that YouTube video and trashed the program. I don't play for clicks. I want to play for a real program and a real culture and a real coach. What you got? Oh, he Oh, go ahead.
So here's the thing, though. That that was his interview right there, and he blew it. As a teacher, am I going to trash the school I work at and the principal
Right.
if I'm
Not
looking for
gonna
a new
happen.
job? No, I'm not, because then those other schools are not going to want to touch me. They're
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, if this dude is trashing his principal and his school, what is he going to do here? We can't trust him
You
because
burn
they
those
know
bridges.
that he could deter other possible employees, possible hires away from the school.
100%.
So I mean, what's his name? Kermani.
Cormani McClain.
So yeah, Kermani McLean. That interview, that interview was his interview for other schools. He blew it.
Yeah.
If he would have just not trashed the program, he would have easily gone to another Power Five school.
Right, right.
But
And
that's the whole part of growing up, though. Like I get that maybe you got the short end of the stick at Colorado as
Yeah,
much as other players who are jumping ship, leaving
right,
that program. But you don't see those other players. You don't see those other players
right.
trashing the program the way out because they know better.
They know better. They know that they don't want to burn the bridges. Just like you mentioned with references for jobs, those are people they're going to call and talk to. What was his work ethic? It was exposed that he's not a good worker. What was his character? It was exposed that he does not have good character. And so, by talking to Dion, Trevor, anyway, I'm not going to get into the Colorado program too much again tonight, but um, he was he literally after that YouTube video he posted, every scholarship and every team that reached out to him was pulled. Now he ended up landing, as Anthony Bell says here, he ended up landing at Florida, but as a preferred walk-on, no scholarship. Now PWOs, they get a little bit of financial aid. They do get a little bit, but it's not much. Um,
Yeah.
and he has a chance to prove himself at Florida, rebuild his image. Apparently, Florida's roster is really lacking for talent right now, but apparently their cornerback positions are pretty set, according to what I've read. And he will be a depth guy added on. That's why he's a preferred walk on, not a scholarship player. And so he has the opportunity, if he chooses to rebuild his image at Florida. And I obviously, I want to see him succeed as a 5-star guy, but whoo, he's
You,
definitely got some
you know
issues,
you
bro.
know you know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be like remember how LeBron left Cleveland? Everyone burned his jerseys. And after with Miami, he beat the Celtics in the series, and he apologized to Cleveland because he's on a high moment right now.
Sure,
He just beat the team that he had trouble beating all those years. I think that's gonna happen to Kermani McLean. I mean, he's gonna be on this high moment. He's gonna say, "I would like to apologize to
sure,
Colorado, Deion Sanders, the whole program. I had some
right.
grow that type of
It's a
thing."
growing, learning moment, right?
Uh huh. Because he, in a way, he's gonna be humble.
I hope he was humbled. It's certainly a learning moment.
Do you
He
think
woke up real
Florida?
quick. Do you think he definitely woke up real quick when all those scholarships were pulled? Do you think Florida paid him some money under the table? I
No.
wouldn't think so, man. Especially not as a
It
PWO.
so here's the thing though. Why would you pay someone who doesn't have any leverage for other schools?
Right.
That's
Great
how
point.
that's how players get the biggest bag. They use
Yeah.
other schools' NIL as leverage to get more NIL.
To fill their pockets even
He's
more.
got no field to play with.
He got no firepower to play with
He's
right
not
now.
getting paid anytime soon until he
No.
starts producing.
And no, to that point, he might have been a 5-star number one cornerback coming out of high school, but no, right now, no brain is touching him. Nobody, no brain will go after him with how he revealed himself to be in his nature to be in the social media. So it's an interesting thing there. Um, One other topic we want to touch on before we get to champion Temp of the week. Um, we have Ohio State playing at Northwestern at Wrigley Field though, because Ryan Field, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but they completely demolished Ryan Field. There's 2 years now it's going to take to build a new stadium, which looks immaculate, by the way. But the majority of their home games are going to be built at their practice field with temporary stands. Um, they're moving Ohio State Northwestern, obviously, because it's the big home game this year to Wrigley. And before I ask for your opinion, I know that Soldier Field was available that weekend because the NFL schedule just got released, and Chicago has an away game that weekend, and so they're playing it literally in a baseball stadium when the football stadium is wide open for Ohio State fans to flood.
I
What do you
don't
think, bro?
I don't think they're gonna maximize profit off this game because that's what it's
No,
all about. It's all
right?
about TV time and trying to maximize profit. I just I just don't I don't know. Like, why not just stay in the football arena? Why do you have to make some big ordeal when you go play at a baseball field? Same as turning in Ford Field to a basketball court for the Final Four,
Sure.
or going to Little Caesars Arena.
That's a solid point, man. And the only thing that I've heard is that it's cheaper for the school to rent out Wrigley than it is to rent out Soldier Field,
Wait
and
a
they're
minute, I
going the
want
cheap route.
I want to address this comment. Why does Ohio State always lose to a lesser opponent like that, even though Wisconsin play them really tough? I mean, yeah, Wisconsin plays them tough, but I mean, like, I don't think Ohio State has lost to a lesser opponent ever. Like, I
Under
could I
day.
could name I could name a couple times under Urban Meyer. I can
Yeah.
name a couple times under Jim Tressel, but Ryan Day is beating everyone he needs to be. He's just having trouble getting over the hump.
Yeah. No,
Well,
you're right.
he's beating everybody he should beat.
He's not dropping those Purdue games. He's not
Nah,
dropping
the
the
Iowa
Iowa
games.
games. You know, he's winning the games that needs to be won with superior talent. But when he comes up against equal or potentially superior talent, they're close games. The majority of them are, but he's not winning them, and that's a problem because close isn't good enough. But yeah, he's not losing the games that he shouldn't lose. That's for sure. Not under Day anyway. Definitely under Urban Meyer. But were you able to see the photos? Like the field layout in Wrigley is going to be really interesting because both teams are on the same sideline.
What?
Yeah, they're on the same sideline.
That's
When Illinois and
ridiculous.
Northwestern have played because there's not enough room on the one side.
I hope that they get along in that game. So Michigan was not a lesser opponent. Here's why. They may have had not all those 5 stars, but they had they had a really good staff. Nobody's denying that they had, like, I'm not going to deny that they had a really good staff. They had a really good staff who could develop. They could produce results in the field. They had really good scheme. I mean, Sharon Moore and Jesse Mentor, really good. The 2021 Mike McDonald, really
Yeah,
really good. I mean, do you
very
see the
talented.
defense he's putting up with the Baltimore Ravens? Like, they had, I mean, cornerbacks coach. I mean, all those coaches who are developing those players, they're in the pros now.
Right.
And what is his name? Ben Herbert,
And Herbert, the strength.
the strength conditioning coach, he was the bread and butter.
Yeah, they had a very cohesive staff, and it took him 7 years to build that cohesive staff. Um, and he got the handouts from the NFL. His big brother, John Harbaugh, knew he was struggling and said, "Mentor this guy for a little bit. He got superior defense than Don Brown's defense." And it honestly helped save Jimmy's job. You know, it really did help save Jim Harbaugh's job. But credit to him. Now it took him much longer than it took, other coaches to get the superior staff. But I do believe they had the superior staff. Now we have a Brian Hartline, we have the Larry Johnsons, and now we got a Chip Kelly on staff. Um, I think that role is reversed, and we'll see how much the culture weighs in and how much culture stays with Michigan with Harbaugh now departed. So it'll be really interesting. It's gonna be quite the battle on the field in November, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But going back to Wrigley Field, keep the football games where the football games should be, and if
Yeah,
anything, upgrade to a pro stadium.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember when Illinois was. I don't remember the year that it was, but Illinois had stadium renovations in Champaign, and they played games in St. Louis as well as in Chicago when they had their home games. And so Evanston is like 10 miles from Chicago. It doesn't make sense why they would not go to Soldier Field, especially when it's available. Except for that, I think they're taking the cheap route because they're spending whatever billion to build the new stadium, and they're trying to cut corners and save on money. Their revenue for these next 2 years, though. Can you imagine? I mean, temporary stadiums at a practice field for the majority of their home games. Like what? That they're going to lose some serious revenue to the to, to a program that has the least revenue in the Big Ten. So it's really an interesting move that they're making, going the cheaper route. So You
Well,
want to respond to
here's the
that?
thing though. Here's the thing about that, Anthony Bell. Combs, Barnes, who else was there that just didn't work out? Just
Many
awful,
coaches,
awful. Corey Dennis had no business being the quarterback's coach. Good recruiter, but just couldn't produce results.
no
Like,
developer,
Kerry Combs had no business being the defensive coordinator. Good
right?
quarterbacks coach, good recruiter,
Yeah,
but
terrific,
he had no business being the defensive coordinator.
right?
That was possibly the worst staff that Ohio State has possibly had.
And going back to the point, the staff is the key thing.
Definitely.
But going back to the points we made earlier,
You
it's the trenches, bro.
you take the last year's Michigan coaching staff or the last 3 years Michigan's coach staff, put it on Ohio State, like we're talking like a three-peat.
Sure. Yeah, man. I think Ohio State's gotten to a point where I believe Chip Kelly is going to make some executive decisions. But the key is, will Ryan Day, and it said this in the article, going back to the first thing we talked about, will Ryan Day snatch those back from his mentor in the key moments? God, I hope not. I really
No,
hope
I
not, bro.
I hope not.
Oh, yeah, I think Chip Kelly's probably the only guy that could take that responsibility and say, "Bro, you brought me in here. Let me do my work," and he will actually listen. That's my hope, because he was his mentor. But who knows if that's going to be the reality once it comes down to those crucial moments in the season, the moments that define a season. Will he let go? Actually, let go. We're
Yeah,
gonna find out
definitely,
because
definitely.
in Eugene and in Columbus versus Oregon and versus Penn State and Happy Valley in a whiteout, those key moments are going to come, and we're going to
Yeah,
see what Ryan Day is really made of. Again,
yeah,
is he the same guy, or has he actually learned?
yeah,
Woo!
definitely, definitely.
I'm not looking forward to it either. I am, but I'm not because I love the season.
Yeah.
Um, Now I actually have I do have a chump of the week, but I couldn't come up with a champ of the week
Oh,
this
I
week.
I have a champ of the week.
Okay, you leave with the champ, and I'll go with the chump.
Champ of the week goes to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. They're going to make millions off this fight, and
Is that
it seems like it's going to be a really friendly bout. So
is that this week?
no matter what happens, they are going to get paid.
I've never watched. They know how to make money, right? They know how to market. I've never watched one of those YouTube fights, but yeah, that'll be interesting, man. That's a good kind of outsider choice. I like that.
Uh, let's address this last thing. So I have a
Yeah,
question. So if he does win the national championship the next 4 years, he kind of fall off and have 2, 3 lost seasons like the guy from LSU. Will they fire him? So here's the thing: Ryan did
Orgeron.
not have 4 years to produce a national championship. He has this year to produce a national championship. We're talking 13 million NIL. We're talking a lot of key players coming back. We're talking about the transfer portal. We're talking about seems like he has the right coaching staff. Ed Ogeron, he was given to the keys to an elite roster,
Yeah,
and then he imploded.
yeah,
Like I don't even think he lasted. So they won the national championship. Didn't really have a good season after that, and then definitely didn't have a good season. They fired him like the middle of the season.
yeah.
Like
They did.
they paid out his con. They paid out. They did his buyout in the middle of the season. I meant if he won this year, they fire him the next. Oh, okay, fire him the next 4 years. Well, it depends. It depends.
I
If he wins it this year and then like
You buy yourself some time,
yeah, you buy yourself some time. I mean, I think you win a national championship. You bought yourself 4 years, 3 years, four
and
years.
here's the thing, man. A lot of programs when they get handed the keys, a lot of these younger coaches, like you know, we'll go back to Miami in Larry Coker. A lot of these guys have not maintained. Ryan Day has maintained to the exact same level that Urban Meyer had, wins and losses and everything, recruiting and everything. but he's not winning the championships that Urban Meyer won. Now he's maintained the win percentage. Um, and so there has been no drop off. But if there is a title, certainly gives you some leeway in years to come, without question. It just does. But a lot of people are saying Ohio State has fallen off under Ryan Day, and that's just not the case.
No,
That's not even close to the truth. A lot of Michigan fans, I would say, are saying that because they're hoping for that. They're projecting their hopes on Ryan Day, but that hasn't happened. They've just fallen short in the important games.
I would say falling off is losing like 4 or 5 games a season, maybe even
Yeah, no
4
kidding.
to 5 games per season. Not even coming close to make the Championship.
Right.
Not even coming close to win. First, you got to win your division. Then you got to win the Big Ten championship. Then you got to make the playoffs. Then win the national championship. I would say that he's had them in contention all the way to the last game each year he's been there. Each year.
At the end, yes.
I mean, they've been the most consistent winning team the last 20 plus years.
Yes, exactly.
I think their last I think their last losing season was when Luke Fickle had to take his tryout to be the last head coach,
Right.
which failed. I think it was when Luke
Interim.
Fickle had to take over as head coach as the interim head coach.
Yep.
So I mean they've been the most consistent top ranked program. The thing that they get the most hate about is
You can.
like no net like only 2 national titles to show.
Yeah, that is the thing. The consistency, win percentage, amount of conference titles. Ohio State is the cream of the crop in those categories in the 21st century. But to your point, only 2 championships to show. We have underperformed in the big moments and in the key games at times, and that was true under Urban Meyer too. At times, he lost some games in embarrassing ways. Clemson comes to mind,
Teams
2016 specifically.
to teams he had no business losing to.
Yeah, exactly.
Purdue, Iowa.
Purdue and Iowa come to mind as the main two. Virginia Tech, bro,
Yeah, but he redeemed himself big time that
he
season.
did, but still, 7-6
Yeah,
Virginia Tech.
that was at home too. That was terrible.
Yeah, in the horseshoe. We had lost 3 out of the 4 at that point, going back to last season, and that was a crux point for the Urban Meyer era. We lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten title game in 2013. We
Yeah,
lost
lost to
to
Clemson.
Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and then we lost to Virginia Tech in our second game of that season. And people were hitting the panic button, coming off a 24-game win streak. We're
Yeah.
fickle, man. We're fickle fans, and we're spoiled, and we're entitled. We
Oh
just
yeah,
are,
definitely.
as
I
we talked
agree
about that earlier.
wholeheartedly. I agree.
Yeah. And so, to close it out, man, we had the champ Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. They're gonna fill their pockets buku bucks, man. That's a great point, kind of outside shot, something I hadn't considered. My chump, we talked about him earlier, man. Like Urban Meyer, in my opinion, is the chump this week, just because he's taking these shots, knowing he can get away with them because he's not the head coach of a program now. And I think that I don't know, he just kind of continually living up to his namesake, and it's something that um yeah, he just would never say at the head as the head man of any program, whether it be Texas, Ohio State, whoever. He would never say those things. He would never utter those words. So he's my chump of the week.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting what kind of back push he gets because he's on Fox Big Noon kickoff and he's continuing to be on that entering the fall. And I think he gets he gets booed a lot of places he goes, but especially Michigan. But a lot of places he goes, he gets booed.
Yeah.
And with this mindset and his controversial comments that have traveled, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know if he'll stick to the guns or if he'll cave again once it comes to the pressured questions on Big New Kickoff pregame show.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, man. That's it for today,
All right.
man. I
Yep.
think we had a
That's
pretty good
it.
spirited discussion.
Subscribe. That's all I gotta say. Click, like, subscribe. We post so we switch Peter and I we switch every other day to post a video. find us at TikTok. Mine is at Buckeye Rob 13. I don't know what yours is, Peter.
Mine's just Buckeye Battle Cry. Um, yeah, we post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and of course every Thursday we have the live stream at 8:30 p.m. So join us once again, like, subscribe, like you said. That's gonna do it for today on another live stream. But appreciate you joining us, Rob. Appreciate you, Anthony, for coming
Yeah.
on and
Thank you.
contributing so much to the show tonight. We appreciate you, and that's gonna do it for Thursday night. But you have a good one, Rob,
All
and
right, take care, man.
you take care, brother. We'll see you again. All right.
Yep, later.
All right. Bye.